Well, I used to work as a physiotherapist. I was assistant head of physiotherapy with Organic Health Trust, and I worked over at Port Talbot Hospital. And I was full-time, and I went into work as usual on a Friday, 31st of January 2003. The date is imprinted upon my soul. And I developed a bit of a headache, but nothing really made any difference. So the following morning I did my best to carry on. I sort of had a kip in the living room, and John looked after the kids and played with them, my husband, and then he switched the lights on to ask me if I'd like a cup of tea or something to eat. And the pain as he switched the light on was absolutely agony. We went to Princess of Wales Hospital, and I was still trying to convince myself and the doctor that this was just a bit of a headache, maybe I'd got sinusitis or something. But the doctor was actually quite sort of categorical and said, no, you've got something worse, and I think you're either having a cerebral hemorrhage or you've got meningitis. I was admitted to hospital, had a CT scan, had a lumbar puncture, and they diagnosed viral meningitis that night. It took me a couple of years really to actually sort of get going to any reasonable functional degree, and I also had some damage to my left ear. There are still those days where I find it very hard to actually get up and get going. I have to plan things. If I know that I'm going to expend a lot of energy one day doing something, then I have to make sure that the following day I haven't got much on, because I know that I'll be really absurdly tired still. In my case, although the effects are now less severe than they were, they're still there, and I just have to work around them really. Had I actually seen a doctor earlier and the treatment had been started earlier, it may not have been as severe as it actually was. I don't think I really appreciated the fact that there were two types, that there was the bacterial form and the viral form. So I was very ill and really nothing much registered, but I think when I left hospital I expected that give it a few weeks and I would feel a lot better and I'd be back at work, and I was then signed off as retired due to ill health. I didn't really want to stop working, but I really didn't have an option. You know, it was, sorry, but this is it, you have to go. That was when the Meningitis Trust really, really helped me out, because they put me in touch with a counsellor. She enabled me really to see that I hadn't failed at anything, I hadn't done anything wrong, therefore I wasn't guilty of anything, and that actually I had to move on. My husband has obviously been affected. He's had to support me emotionally and physically. He's also, on top of all that, had to be the sole wage earner. We simply couldn't do the things that most families could do. And I think the children themselves actually, and in particular perhaps our eldest son, Hugh, it scared him. And he frequently talked about the fact that, you know, you're not going to die, are you, mummy? The Trust have always been there for me, and I do know that if there is a problem or there's something that relates to this whole meningitis thing, that I can ring them and they'll be there for me.